Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Saturday, February the 12th, 2022. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined by the one and only Josh Crash Davis. And we are here to go over the DFS 10-game main slate that starts at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight. So what a slate we have today. Are you ready to dive in and attack this sucker, Crash?
Yeah, we've got, like you said, we've got 10 games here. You know, normally we have these smaller slates on Saturdays, but the NFL has, kind of adjusted the schedule for the NBA or vice versa for the Super Bowl tomorrow. So they've moved all the games over to Saturday. So we get quite a few games to break down here. So it'll be good.
We do, and it's a really interesting slate. I mean, you've got 6 of the 20 teams on the second night of a back-to-back. Nobody on the first night because, as you mentioned, there's only 2 games tomorrow. And then both of those games are early, 2 and 3 o'clock. So I'll have a podcast up either later tonight or early in the morning so everybody can lock those in if they want to play them prior to the Super Bowl. And speaking of the Super Bowl, why don't you give us a little preview of what we have posted right now for our DFS Coach Talk Super Bowl podcast.
Yeah, so Andrew and I, as we've done all year, we had our Super Bowl podcast, but we also brought in John Wiehausen, who's our analytics guy, and he brought a lot of very helpful advice. If you haven't seen the podcast yet, I highly recommend it. There's a lot of pointers and things that he points out that you're probably not going to get from most websites and podcasts. So I definitely recommend it.
Love it. Yeah, and I checked it out already. 3-man booth. You guys were awesome. If you're going to play DFS Super Bowl, you got to check it out. So it's on our YouTube page, DFS Coach Talk. Also, today's podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. Yesterday, we had our buddy Jack Cooper on there to kick off our partnership with Prize Picks. We're going to be offering a wonderful thing by you. If you want to sign up with Prize Picks, you get 100% match all the way up to $100 if you use the promo code Coach Talk, all one word, no space, and you can't beat it. And it's not a drip kind of deal. If you put, let's say you want to put 75 in, they immediately put your 75 credit in there. It's not $2 at a time or anything. So you can do that all the way up to $100 for first-time users by just using that promo code Coach Talk. And then Prize Picks has sponsored some of these podcasts during the week, our basketball podcasts, and we're going to have picks. Josh is our Prize Picks expert, although I did hit my two-game Prize Picks play yesterday. So we're going to both be posting stuff in Discord for our members, and we'll also be posting something on Fridays as our prize pick selections on Twitter. Today, though, Saturday, is our Two Brains Are Better Than One Fanduel GPP build. So Crash and I, at the end of this podcast, after we go over the teams, we are going to build that lineup for you right here. And if there are updates throughout the day, we will post that on Twitter for the listeners and in Discord for our members. All right, no more messing around today, Josh. We've got 10 big games to get to, and let's get it started. We have 3 7:00 games to start off our entire slate here. So we're going to be early on. You're going to sort of know where you stand initially. The first game is the Sacramento Kings, the Washington Wizards. Sacramento's favored by 3. It's a 222.5 total, 112.75 for Sacramento, 109.75 for the Washington Wizards. Sacramento comes in 21-36, Washington 25-29. Designations here, we've got probable tags for Sacramento on the newly acquired Dante DiVincenzo and Trey Lyles. They both should see their first action for Sacramento. Questionable on Harkless and Jackson. And then you've got out for Terrence Davis. For Washington, guess what? You have a questionable tag on Kristaps tissue paper Porzingis. I wonder if he'll miss any games for the Wizards. Oh, geez. So we'll see if he plays. We'll see. He'll probably jam in 50 or something, but good luck with him getting consistent games. And then out is Daniel Gafford. So that definitely has some effect on that big man rotation. As far as statistically speaking, we've got Sacramento with the 4th pace, Washington with the 20th. So nice pace up for the Wizards. Defensively, these two teams stink. Sacramento 29th, Washington 22nd. So an interesting game to start off. I think there's some intrigue here. What do you think?
Well, first of all, it's kind of funny. I was thinking about it. You can talk trash about Porzingis now and not have to feel bad about it. So
exactly.
Sure, hear a lot more of
I know Dirk loves it. He was chirping already.
We're going to hear a lot more of that from you the rest of the season. But so Raul Neto is 4,500 on FanDuel, 4,300 on DraftKings. The Kings have allowed the 9th most fantasy points to point guard, so I like him a little bit as a value play here. And then your guy Kristaps, 6,500 on FanDuel, 7,100 on DraftKings. Kings have allowed the 12th most fantasy points to power forwards, the 2nd most to centers. He did have 48 against Sacramento on December 31st. So at that price, I mean, he's very cheap in my opinion. So if he comes out, trying to make a point and everything, I could see where he has a big game if he does play in this game. So that's kind of like my GPP play that I'm throwing out there. But besides that, wasn't a whole lot that I like in this game. With Dinwiddie, he's now in Dallas, so he would have probably been one of my top plays.
Yeah, and nothing Sacramento side with Sabonis and company.
I'm gonna wait and see how he fits in with that team, and where they go to. How much it's going to affect Fox and how much it's going to affect their other bigs, and Harrison Barnes. I think it'll affect him some too. So I'm just going to wait and see on them.
And now we have DiVincenzo in the mix on top of everything else.
Yeah.
There's a lot of question marks here. I will say this though. First of all, you don't know if Kristaps is going to play. He's questionable.
Right.
If he doesn't play, Thomas Bryant would be a guy to consider, I think, at a 4.2 price. His minutes are up. We're getting a little bit of a jump from Rui Hachimura as well at 3.9. Kispert at 3.3 has been okay. So there are some value plays here. Raul Neto at 4.3. I get all those guys. And on a small slate, I'd look at some of them, or maybe GPP at the best. But there's just so much, indecision there on what's going to happen. I mean, they're really a mess, that team. But Kuzma's probably your safest play. He's 7'9". He's going to be, the center of attention as far as offensively. And I think he might be a good pay up guy here because Sacramento plays super fast. It's, without Beal and Dinwiddie and all these guys, it's, really falls on Kuzma's, shoulders. So he's high on my list today. I really like Kuz. I think that price is fair enough, and I think he fits well in here. The other guy I'm interested in is De'Aaron Fox, and did a lot of digging on him. When you take some of the shooters out, specifically Halliburton, and on top of that, Buddy Hield, who when he was in there for Sacramento, he got up a lot of shots. It really raises De'Aaron Fox's value here. Raul Neto is not a great defender by any stretch. They'll put KCP on him, who I respect, but I think Fox, the speed and the fact that his usage goes up at 7.8, he's another guy that upper mid price range that I like. So I'm considering running back Kuzma with Fox here and get off to a nice jump start. Everybody else on the Sacramento team, I'm not going to waste time going over. Obviously, you could go up to Sabonis at 9.6, but again, it's going to take some time. Now he's got, on top of everybody else now, DiVincenzo in the mix. It's going to be interesting, and Holmes is still there, so I don't particularly feel comfortable going up to Sabonis. So a couple of one-offs here, but I do like having exposure to this game.
Yeah, the only thing for me was if Porzingis plays, I thought that might take away from Kuzma quite a bit, but, we'll see.
Yeah, and we'll see what his availability is. He's been off games now. He hasn't played in a while, so I can't imagine it's going to roll him out there for 35 minutes. He doesn't even play that when he's healthy. So that's, I get it. He may take a little away from Kuzma, but I don't see him playing more than 20, 25 minutes max.
Okay.
All right. Game 2. It is the San Antonio, it's the San Antonio Spurs versus the New Orleans Pelicans. New Orleans favored by 5, another nice total, 226. 110.5 implied for the Spurs, 115.5 for the New Orleans Pelicans. San Antonio comes in 21-35, the Pels 22-33. For the Spurs, Satoransky looks like he may make his first appearance. Not sure how much of a role he'll play, but I doubt very much. Keita Bates-Diop got a little ding yesterday. He's questionable for this game. And the 3 guys that are out are Dragic, Langford, and Richardson. For the Pelicans, just 2 guys out, Nance and Cheeseburgers Williamson. Those 2 guys continue to sit. As far as pace, Spurs 10th, Pelicans 18th. Defensively, San Antonio 17, New Orleans 21. So this game doesn't make me jump out of my seat. I'm still grinning ear to ear from my DeJounte Murray yesterday. He really helped me. I was sunk without his 80 burger that he threw on the board. So kudos to him. But can he come right back in this second night of a back-to-back is the question.
Yeah, that is the question. We've got Popovich here on the second night of a back-to-back, so that's always troublesome. But Murray, still an option. He's 10-6 on FanDuel, 10-4 on DraftKings. The last time they played, he did have 50 DraftKings points against them. Now, the thing with that is Derek White had 57 in that game. So with White in Boston now, you have to think that, a lot of that usage is going to go over to Murray. And Kyle Lowry had 57 against New Orleans on Thursday night. So they've definitely allowed some big games. The point guards, Jrue Holiday had a career game against them earlier this year. So Murray's still in play for me. Some of these value plays, the Vassell and Keldon Johnson and stuff like that, they're an option. Jakob Poeltl, the Pelicans have allowed the 7th most fantasy points to centers. He had 49 the last time he played against them. So you could go there. And then for the Pelicans, Valanciunas, the Spurs have allowed the 6th most fantasy points to centers this season. Saw Capella have a nice game against them last night. So, I think that there are a few plays here, but on a 10-game slate, nothing that really stands out, maybe other than Murray for me.
Yeah, and, I feel bad if I don't go back to Murray. An 80 burger. Come on. It was awesome, man. But yeah, I just don't know. At 10-4, the pace is just average here. The defense is not good, but it's not the worst. It's a tough call for me. I have no problem getting there. It's just like every buy-up guy in the world is on this slate. So it makes it so difficult. And that slim factor of Pop cutting minutes on the second night of a back-to-back is probably enough to scare me off just barely.
I get that. Yeah, I get that for sure.
I'll tell you the guy that's raising up a bit is Devin Vassell. I really enjoyed his play last night, and watching that game. I had both of those guys, and he's only 4-2.
Right.
So, I think he gets a good 30 minutes. He's starting. He's the cheap value guy that I like. Jakob Poeltl's okay. Just doesn't seem to have the same zip he did before he sat out this last time. On the Pels side, now that they have CJ there, it really takes away a lot. I used to play a Pelican. You could feel good about rostering Ingram and spending up, or Joe Val. But now with McCollum Ingram and Joe Val, and Devontae Graham will get his couple of shots up. They're mixing Hayes in there. next to Jovel sometimes. Herb Jones gets good minutes. The Pelicans have sort of improved enough that it's hurt, I think, their DFS stock as a group. So not crazy about anybody from that side. Just may go value Spurs and move on.
All right.
All right. The third 7:00 game, Memphis Grizzlies, Charlotte Hornets. As always with these Charlotte games, we have gigantic totals and they score gigantic points. The yesterday's game when was 256 or whatever. So they're put some points up in their games between the two teams. Memphis by 7, 234.5, 120.75 implied for Memphis, big number, 113.75 for the Charlotte Hornets. So has to get your attention there, no question about it. Memphis comes in 39-18. How about that, man? 21 games over 500 for Memphis. Wow. Amazing. Charlotte has stuck above 500 here at 29-28, trying to get a little bit more traction for the playoffs. I do like the Montrezl Harrell pick. He really looked good off, or pick up from the trade. He looked good off the bench. For Memphis, questionable Aldama. He's always on here. Nobody ever cares, but he's on here. And then the guys that are out are Brooks, Pons, Tilly, and Tillman. So they still have some guys out. Charlotte, questionable tag on Cody Martin and questionable tag on Jalen McDaniels. Two guys in their rotation. We know Gordon Hayward's going to be out a bit with that ankle. So the game set here, you've got two phenomenally paced teams, two of the top 5 in the league, Memphis 3, Charlotte 5. So ding, ding, ding. That has to ring true. Memphis is 7th defensively. And I'll tell you, the impressive part about Memphis is you don't often see in these offense and defensive efficiency stats and then pace where you have a top pace team, they're number 3 in pace, and a top 10 defensive team as well. They're 7th. So super impressed with the fact that, you know, if you're playing fast and still a top defensive team, you got it going. So, you know, the question is, this is the ultimate test. You're going against a Charlotte team that scores points in just bushels. I mean, that's why this is such a big total, 234.5. And Charlotte's defense is lousy. They're 24th. So lots of statistics here to back things up. You know, it's a second night of a back-to-back for Charlotte, but you know, this is really an interesting game. I know this is probably going to be the stack game of the night of all 10 games. Are you stacking it?
A little bit. John Morant is probably my favorite play in this game. He's 10-2 on FanDuel, 10-5 on DraftKings. I like Steven Adams has a favorable matchup. Charlotte's allowed the 4th most fantasy points to centers. He had 34 DraftKings points last time they played. That was back in November, so it's been a little while since they played. But I do like Adams and Morant on the Memphis side. And then on the Charlotte side, Kelly Oubre had 51 DraftKings points last time they played up against Memphis. So he's in play for me. And then not a whole lot besides that. I think LaMelo Ball is going to get canceled out a little bit by John Morant, and Terry Rozier, you know, is going to be defended by Desmond Bane. So those guys are going to kind of cancel each other out for me. So it would just be Adams and Morant for Memphis, and then Kelly Oubre on the Charlotte side for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so torn on this game. This is the one game, because it's so pivotal, that I'm trying to decide, you know, how aggressive to get. I mean, John Morant and LaMelo Ball are not good defenders. Okay, let's just put it out there. They're fantastic NBA players. They're both in the All-Star game. They both can score from anywhere at any time. I mean, they're terrific NBA players, but they're not good defenders. So my question is, you know, I think Terry Rozier will guard Morant, and I think that Bane is going to guard Ball. That's my anticipation is. Just because, I mean, you got two great coaches here that understand that their guys aren't the best point guard defenders in the league. So based on the fact that I respect Rozier and Bane's defense, and I think that's going to be the matchups, I'm probably not going to pay the monster price of 10-5 for Moran or 9-4 for Ball. But it's not that I'm saying they're not going to still get theirs, because they will. But both teams have a really nice supporting cast. So it's not like it all falls on them.
Right.
Bane and Rozier themselves at the 6-5 and 7-3 low mid-priced range are in play. Steven Adams at 5-2 going against Mason Plumlee at 5-6 or Montrezl Harrell at 5-2 off the bench. Adams, even though he's not playing huge minutes, he can play 25, 27 minutes.
Right.
And with an up-tempo game like this, could snare, 12, 14 rebounds and, be that value center. And he's going to be a monster under owned. So it's a sneaky play. In a game where there's this many more possessions, there's going to be that many more missed shots and the availability of that many more rebounds. That also plays into why I sort of like Miles Bridges on the other side. He's 8K, which I think is fair for him. And, I think he's an explosive player and the kind of, guy that can get a lot of stuff at the rim here on that side of the ball. So I'm definitely going to have exposure, probably not to the big price guys, but maybe to the second flight guys, the Roziers, Oubres. I agree with you. 6-4 is getting a little pricey, but I like it. Miles Bridges at a fair price, or value type plays, again, with Bane, Adams, guys like that. So I don't think this game I think it's unavoidable, but I don't think you have to spend, half of your salary in this game.
Right. Yeah.
You're on board.
I'm on board.
All right. We have two 7:30 games, Josh. The first one is the Denver Nuggets and Toronto Raptors. Toronto -3.5, 222.5 total, 109.5 for Denver, 113 for the Toronto Raptors, who are a pretty hot squad right now. Denver 30-25, Toronto 31-23, so a good matchup there. As far as designations, Monte Morris is doubtful, so I'm going to count him out. And then we've got Canchar, Murray, and Porter remain out. The big thing is for Toronto, they have one designation. It happens to be the most important. Fred VanVleet, who missed the last game, is questionable for this game. So we need to know if he is back in tow for this one. And I'll start off by, throwing this over to you. Well, let me give you the numbers on these guys first. And then we got to talk a little bit about the monster trap last night. Bones, Stink, and Highland did everybody right in the, what, including me. But Denver's second night of a back-to-back, and it's 25th and 23rd in pace this game for Denver and Toronto. That is really an issue. And then defensively, Denver's 19th, Toronto's 14th. So concerned about the back-to-back for Denver, concerned about the pace. I'm not sure, man. And then, so give me your feel on this game. And what do you think about that Bones Highland shenanigans last night?
Yeah, with his 12 fantasy points, whatever he got.
I couldn't believe it.
That sucked. So I don't really have anything for this game except for Siakam. But my problem with him is he's 10-3 on FanDuel and 10,000 on DraftKings. If he was around 8, maybe even 8.5 to 9, I would consider him. But at that price, I just really don't want to go there. He has scored 50 plus DraftKings points in 4 of his last 5 games, and Denver's allowed the 4th most fantasy points to power forwards. But at that price, on a 10-game slate, I just don't want to go there. So this is a fade for me.
I don't like this game either. There only one thing that could change it. If VanVleet does sit, all of that usage, I think Gary Trent becomes a great play. He is 7K though now. So, that is a bit of a concern. Also, again, if VanVleet sits, it's going to open up a bunch of usage. Anunoby at 7.3 to me is also a decent play in that situation. Siakam's been phenomenal. I had him a couple of times, and he's in that mode where get out of my way. I'm just going one-on-one. I'm going to ISO, back people down. I mean, he does it all the time. The problem is he runs right square into the teeth of who I think is going to guard him, which is Aaron Gordon. And he's one of my favorite three defenders of guys like Siakam that can post up and square up, because most guys can't do that. Either they put a big on him and he's going to get that outside shot, or they put a smaller guy on him, thin guy, and he just backs him down in the block. But Gordon is a different breed. He can defend both ways. So I'm off of Siakam today. The Joker has not shown any cracks in the armor when he plays back-to-backs, but his price, is just so prohibitive. And it's just a bit of a concern there, though, as well as Toronto's playing in Toronto. They had to travel to Toronto back-to-back. I'm with you. I don't like this game much unless Van Vliet sits. Then I'll have a little exposure to the Raptors.
All right.
We got another game with two teams off a back-to-back here, and watched a lot of the Cleveland game yesterday. That was a great game to watch, a fantastic comeback. I'll tell you what, it's hard not to be a Cavaliers fan. They are a fun team, man. I love rooting for them. All right, so we've got the Cavs at the Sixers. Sixers -4. How about this total? 207. That's it. 101.5 implied for Cleveland, 105.5 for Philly. I mean, it's not like these two teams don't have really good players. It's just defense and the pace and everything. It's just amazing to see, a spread of 30-some points difference in over-unders in these games.
Yeah.
Crazy. So coming into this game, we've got Cleveland at 35-21, Philly at 33-22. And we're not going to see Harden just yet. He'll probably play in their next one, but they'll be bracing for that new addition to the squad there. The big thing is going to be Garland. I expect he's going to play. Watching last night, listening to the Cleveland announcers, doing a little digging, I'm putting Garland in, even though he's still listed as questionable. I think he rolls out there and plays. Lauri Markkanen, doubtful, but he's getting closer. That'll be another nice addition to that team that they'll be able to plug in there. And then Harden and Millsap, the two new acquired guys from the Nets to the Sixers, will not play just yet in this game, according to the news that we have here early morning. If that changes, we certainly will update you on that information. Cleveland's 29th in pace and Philly's 30th. What do you think of that? Would you say that? Can you actually call that a pace down game for Cleveland? Right. I guess you can.
Yeah, I guess you have to. And this is another one of these games where I just don't really like anything. Embiid had 74.3 DraftKings points last time he faced Cleveland, but that was last year, and they didn't have Evan Mobley or Jared Allen. So, I mean, that changes everything. The Cavs allowed the 10th fewest points to centers this year. So they've been very tough on centers. And I don't want to pay $12,000 on DraftKings for Embiid in a pace down matchup. And then Rajon Rondo, I've got buyer beware for him. He scored 40 in 2 of his last 40 DraftKings points. But Philadelphia's allowed the 4th fewest fantasy points to point guards. You've got an older veteran on the second night of a back-to-back. So I would fade him for sure.
Yeah, Rondo would be if Garland plays. You please don't play Rondo in anything. I don't care what his numbers were. Yes,
I mean, even if he doesn't play, I still won't play him. So. No. I wouldn't play him if Garland's out. I agree with you. Exactly.
It is the sucker play of all sucker plays. I mean, he hit a bunch of long threes last night too, which is not going to happen often.
Right.
Anyway, that's not. I mean. If you're considering playing Rondo, then please DM me and let's play some head-to-heads. But anyway, they're the 4th and 10th best defensive teams. You got 2 top 10 defensive teams, the 2 slowest teams in the league. both teams playing like playoff style ball. You have to pay way up for Embiid. You have to pay way up for Garland, LeVert, Tobias Harris. They're all expensive.
Yeah.
Even Jared Allen at 8-1 is expensive. So, yeah, I don't know how you feel comfortable spending up here in any stretch. It just seems tough. I mean, LeVert handled the whole show last night. He was fun to watch, but on a back-to-back against, a stingy Philly defense, I truly believe I'm going to be a complete pass on this game, even though this is the game I'll watch the most.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is probably the best game on the slate from a viewer standpoint.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't make myself, to talk myself into anybody, even the value guys, if you want to call them that. It's just too tough. There's not going to be enough possessions.
Yeah.
And, you might be able to pull a diamond out here. You're going to get low ownership on a lot of these guys because I think most people are going to feel the same way we do. But I just can't find a path to get these guys in there.
No.
All right, man, we're shifting to the 8 o'clock game. There's 2 games at 8. One is Brooklyn and Miami. Miami's favored by a whopping 10.5. Brooklyn's lost 10 games in a row, which is amazing. It's a 219.5 total. Scant 104.5 for Brooklyn. They have collapsed. 115 for Miami. In this game, we've got Brooklyn, Seth Curry, the newly acquired, questionable. We don't know if he suits it up for the first time. Same thing goes for Andre Drummond. So keep an ear out for both of those guys because that will change things. Because Brooklyn is really woefully desperate inside. No Aldridge, no Claxton, no Durant, Harris, or Simmons. Oh, why is Simmons even listed there? That is crazy. He's not ready yet. No, he should be back soon though. And I think it's going to be fun to see how he fits in with this team. For Miami, PJ Tucker's questionable along with rotational players, Caleb Martin, and of course, Tyler Hero, 6th man of the year. So important. Those 3 guys play good minutes. We need that information. Morris and Oladipo remain out. So this game is this is one of those head scratchers as well, because you've got Brooklyn with the 8th pace, which is good. Miami, of course, we know they play slow and D it up. They're 27th. Brooklyn's defense is sunk all the way to 18th, which is, way down from where they were 5th or 6th earlier in the season. Miami stays in the top 10. Like always, they're 6th. So, man, this game is a tough one to figure as both teams, sort of jockey. Miami for playoff position. They want that number 1 seed, and they know that it's going to be tough. And Brooklyn just trying to get off the schneid here. At least it's a road game and Kyrie can play. But what do you think, man?
Yeah, I like Kyle Lowry, 5,900 on FanDuel. I think that's a good value for him. Of course, he had the huge game against the Pelicans on Thursday night that I mentioned earlier. But the Nets have allowed the 4th most fantasy points to point guards this year, and he's averaged about 37 DraftKings points per game against Brooklyn in his career. So at 5'9", on FanDuel, that's a really good value. At 6'8" on DraftKings, it's not as great, but still in play for me either way. On DraftKings, you kind of have to hope he gets more closer to that ceiling game. But on FanDuel, that's a good value. So I'm going to play him on FanDuel, I think. And then Seth Curry, who was recently traded to Brooklyn, I like him here. He's 5,300 on FanDuel, 5,200 on DraftKings. If the Heat have a weakness as far as fantasy points allowed to a position, it is shooting guard. They've allowed the 11th most fantasy points to shooting guards, and he did have 39.8 against Miami on January 15th. So that was, a solid matchup for him. And then Jimmy Butler, of course, you can consider him always. 9,200 on FanDuel, 9,300 on DraftKings. He had 55 DraftKings points the last time they played the Nets. And before they had that 5-game road trip, he had 80, 54, and 61 DraftKings points in his 3 games at home. So
wow,
he's definitely feeling it at home.
Definitely. Yeah, Curry's questionable, by the way, too. We have to make sure he's in there. But But I agree with you. If he is, he could light it up. He hasn't been shooting the ball well of late, though. So we'll see how he fits in here. I do like the call on Lowry, especially if Hero sits. He's questionable. I think that elevates him. Lowry's up to 6'8" on DraftKings. He was really cheap there, $1,000 less, $1,200 less just a couple days ago. So he's back to sort of where he should be. This is a tough one. I mean, Kyrie at 10-2, that's such a big price to pay against such a good defensive team. So I'm not going to go there. They're going to have to get some help here for Kyrie from some of these guys. Until the newly traded guys are able to play. Patty Mills at 5'1", he's slumped a little bit lately, but you can consider him. My question is, if Andre Drummond plays, he's 4'5". How do you figure his minutes?
Yeah.
Can you imagine Drummond getting 25, 30 minutes at 4'5"?
Is Claxton still out?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. If
no LaMarcus, no Claxton.
Yeah. If Drummond's going to get 25, 30 minutes, however many minutes, that would 4 or 5. I mean, he might get 40, 50 DraftKings points. I mean,
that's the thing, though. What if he comes off the bench, Blake starts or whatever, or James Johnson, and he plays 10 minutes? You're cooked.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be studying that clearly throughout the day and try to find anything that I can find out. If he is starting, I'm telling you right now, Crash, he's going to be my center at 4-5. I mean, through his career, he's been a smash guy, 1.3, 1.4 points per minute. And so he's just a great DFS play at that price. If he's going to start, I don't care if it's against Miami and Bam or not. That big body's going to get it done if he gets a minute. But if he's not starting and he's, I'm going to steer away. You just can't risk that much in a cash, or single entry lineup. Now, you still want to take a flyer on a GPP. I think it makes sense.
Okay.
But other than that, it's hard. This is a tough game to figure. Butler's might be the best play, but let me ask you this last question on this game, because I think it's important. Do you think this game blows out with Brooklyn being on a 10-game losing streak? Miami plays great at home. Vegas has it as a 10.5 point, double-digit favorite. Do you think it blows out?
I mean, it should. Just looking at the numbers, it definitely lines up for that to happen. And Miami being back at home, like you mentioned, after that road trip. I could definitely see that.
And if Hero and Caleb Martin and these guys that were questionable are back in, this could end up being a full pass game for me. Or if some of these guys are ruled out and Drummond's in the starting lineup, I could have a one-off on each side.
Yeah. Plus Brooklyn, they've got a bunch of new players and they're going to have to figure out how to play together and all that. So it's going to take some time for Brooklyn to pull it together, I think.
Yeah, and I don't even think those guys are playing today. So it's somewhat of a mess there, and we'll see. But let's stay, in touch. We'll be in Discord talking about this throughout the day. If you want to become a part of Coach Talk and catch this kind of information as we're grinding through, doing our strategy sessions, I do one-on-ones with our members, talking bankroll management, contest selection, how we're strategizing, who to play in these hand-built lineups. You can join us, dfscoachtalk.com. If you join today, you get, the whole Saturday, Sunday, Monday, got the whole weekend, the Super Bowl, everything that we provide, huge slate today, big slate on Monday as well, 9-gamer Monday. So, love to have you join us. Check us out. 3 days, $10, can't beat it. So it's DFS Coach Talk. All right, let's move on to the other 8 o'clock game. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder, Chicago Bulls. Chicago, another big favorite here, as Thunder has been getting thumped lately. It's 11.5 point favoritism, 220 is the total. Oklahoma 104.25. The Chicago Bulls a healthy 115.75. Oklahoma 17-38. Chicago 35-21. 4 guys out for the Thunder as of right now: SGA, Muscala, JRE, and Wiggins. For Chicago, same thing. 4 guys out: Ball, Caruso, Jones, and Williams. So I know you've got a lot to say about Levine because he was a bite in the butt guy as well. But in this game, we've got both teams on the second night of a back-to-back. So that affects things a little for sure. And you've got Oklahoma City with the 19th pace, Chicago 16th. So nothing to write home about there. Defense really averages out. The Thunder, not bad, 13th. Chicago slipped down to 20th since they lost that defensive backcourt of Ball and Mr. Who's our guy?
Dosunmu or no?
Dosunmu's in.
Okay.
Caruso.
Caruso.
That's what I'm trying to think of. Yeah, he's a dog off the bench defense, or even when he starts. But anyway, so we've got a little bit of decline defensively here, but you never know with the Thunder. Sometimes they'll rise up. Their defense keeps them in games. They're scrappy. Sometimes they just get their doors blown in. So what do you think about this game? You can cry a little bit about Levine now if you would like.
I'm leaning more towards the latter. I think that Chicago is going to blow them out in this game. Second night of a back-to-back. And they had a 1-point game last time they played in January. But the only thing with that is that SGA was in that game. Without SGA, it's just going to be really hard for Oklahoma City to stay in this game, in my opinion. So if it weren't for that, I would go right back to Zach LaVine. 8,100 on FanDuel. He's 9,100 on DraftKings, so that's a little bit steep for me. But Oklahoma City's allowed the second most fantasy points to shooting guards this year, and he had 48 in that game in January. So it's a good matchup for him. I just don't think it's going to stay close enough. I do like Darius Bazley for Oklahoma City, though, either way. 6,000 on FanDuel, 5,800 on DraftKings. The Bulls have allowed the third most fantasy points to power forwards. Bazley's been playing well. He had 40 last night against Philadelphia. So I do like Bazley here. If the game somehow stays close, you could look at Levine or even Vucevic. He had 60 last time when they played against Oklahoma City. So good matchup for him in this game.
Yeah, I get it. I think that there definitely are some Chicago plays here that look sharp, but I'm with you. I don't know how many minutes on a back-to-back, if they do get a big lead here, I think that they'll protect those guys a little bit. Vuk's been great, 9.7 though, and then DeRozan 9.8 and Levine 9.1. Those prices, those sting when you have three of those on the same team, because generally one of the three at least, sometimes two, are going to let you down, and the other guy steps up. And trying to determine that roulette wheel with those three guys is not easy.
Yeah.
I do like the 8-1 price on FanDuel, like you mentioned. I think Levine is underpriced there, and that's a good value play. DeRozan's been, to me, the best player on their team, and if it stays close at all, I'd love to pay up for him. But 9.8, that's just a hard pill to swallow. Back blowout.
Yeah, he's 10-4 on FanDuel, so he's
even worse
more over there. Yeah.
It's tough. So I'm probably not going to go there with the three bigs from Chicago unless I may dial up Levine on FanDuel, but it's just too tough to really determine in a game that is not going to be super high paced and that has decent defense from the Thunder side and definitely could blow out.
Yeah.
From OKC, I mean, you can always take a flyer on Giddey at 7.4, Dort at 6.5, or Bazley at 5.8, who's definitely, as you mentioned, playing better ball. But man, it's not a fun game. On a small slate, maybe you can find a couple of real solid plays here, but on a bigger slate like this, just not one of my favorite games whatsoever.
Yeah.
All right, we have 3 games remaining, Josh. An 8:30, another 8:30, and then the late game is only at 9. So we have a compact 10-game slate today. All these games, my eyeballs are going to be going crazy. And when my DirecTV has all the games on there, they make the blocks smaller and smaller. I can't see anything. It's crazy.
You have to stand like 2 inches from the TV.
Exactly. And then you're rooting for one ball to go in, one guy, you're looking over here and you say miss it, and then you realize, oh, that's your guy. It gets nuts, but I love it. All right, 8:30, Lakers, Golden State. Talk about two teams going in the opposite direction. God bless them. Did you see the picture yesterday of Rob Pelinka?
I didn't.
He was at Disney World on trade deadline day. You can't make this shit up.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally was there. And then you have comments of LeBron and AD saying they didn't want the Lakers to stand pat at the deadline. So it is a 3-ring circus there for sure. But anyway, Golden State's only favored by 6.5. I thought that line was low.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, unless it's just Vegas sucker bet and Lakers are going to step up. I don't know. I expected that to be like 9, something like that.
Yeah. 6.5. Wow.
That's low. And it's a 224 total. Lakers 108.75, Warriors 115.25. So interesting. Lakers 27-30. I'm sorry, that's incorrect. They wish they were 27-30. Oh, they're almost 26-30. My mistake.
30.
Golden State's 41-15. Questionable tag on Russell Westbrook. I think he has a bruised ego.
Yeah.
It's sore. LeBron James questionable, so we'll see if if he's in pout mode or not. What the deal is there. AD is probable, and then you have Carmelo out, Kendrick Nunn out. So this, we don't even know what we're getting from the Lakers side to boot.
Yeah.
Golden State, we know Draymond remains out, Iguodala and Weissman. Those three have been out for a while. Statistically speaking, Lakers second in the league in pace. That's an interesting piece. Golden State's 11th. So there will be pace in this game, which makes it tempting. Lakers are 16th, so they're below average defensively in the league. Golden State has been wire-to-wire number 1 defense in the NBA. So what do you make of this craziness?
Well, if LeBron doesn't play, there's no way this game's going to stay close. So I would just pass this game completely if LeBron doesn't play. If he plays, it'll probably somewhat stay close. I still think Golden State will win by, 10-15 probably. Jonathan Kuminga would be my top play in this game. 4,100 on DraftKings. He's 5,200 over on FanDuel, so it's over $1,000 difference there. So not as good of a value on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, he is 4,100. Lakers have allowed the 8th most fantasy points to power forwards, and he's been getting right around 30 DraftKings points a night lately. So I think that, 8 to 9x, is well in play for Kuminga here.
Nice. Nothing with the Lakers?
Nope. I just think I really do. I think it's going to be a blowout. I might be generous with the 10-15.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think Russ plays to begin with. So that elevates Malik Monk a little bit for me at 6'2". I mean, I think that puts him into play because he's been a solid scorer for them. And, I think LeBron and AD both play, but they're so expensive against the number 1 defense in the league. I really don't know if I want to go there. However, if Vegas is right and this stays under 6.5 or around that, LeBron and AD are going to be pretty much the main reason for that.
True.
So you're going to get a lower ownership on those guys than normal. So that makes me a little interested just on, that whole aspect of low ownership. There's just some real value there. And we know that either one of them could go off for 60, 65, 70 on any given night. So I'm not completely shutting down the Lakers here, but Monk value-ish and maybe LeBron or AD, not feeling super confident, but I think it would be contrarian enough that it could give you an edge. But on the Golden State side, because it's an island game, Curry at 10-3, a big price, but, could go off in a game like this.
Yeah.
Clay, though, is getting more and more shots, more and more minutes. He's now at 30 minutes cap, and that could be extended. He's, at 6-6 in play. But after that, I like your Kuminga call at 4-1. I want to make sure he gets enough minutes, but he is a cheap price on DraftKings.
Right.
Specifically, I think he's a nice value play there. All right.
Yeah.
8:30, second 8:30 game, Clippers, Mavericks. It is Dallas -7, only a 215 total, 104 implied for the Clippers, 111 for the Dallas Mavericks. The Clippers are 27-30. They have starting to leak oil a little bit without their stars there being out. And the Mavericks are 10 games over 500 with 33-23 with Mr. Luka in tow here. As far as questionable, Powell got hurt a bit in the last game. He's questionable. Of course, George Leonard and Preston are out for Dallas. Davis Bertans in the contract that I still cannot figure out for the life of me how anybody could take on that contract. Can you please explain to me? This is a guy that has $84 million owed over the next 4 years. Why would you take on the contract like that?
Yeah, that's insane.
I mean, it was like a gift for Washington. They had to be just wetting their pants with joy. I don't get it. I'm hoping we see Dinwiddie tonight. He's questionable. He may suit up. We're going to follow that news.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to affect things,
Right.
I think the guy that's going to take a huge knee right in the nuts, if no pun intended here, is Jalen Brunson. I think, how much is Dinwiddie going to, carve into that? What's the roles looking like at guard? I'm not convinced that Dinwiddie is going to be a huge part of this team yet. You have Reggie Bullock playing arguably, other than Luka, the best ball in the team. I'm still absolutely perplexed at that trade. I mean, I did want to get rid of Porzingis. Enough was enough. But you take on two big contracts, including maybe the worst in the entire NBA, and they really don't fit on this team.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my Mavericks crying for the day. I apologize. Hope I'm dead wrong. I hope it all works out. But if Dinwiddie plays, I'm not going to play Brunson or Bullock. I just screws everything up. If he sits out, then, those guys are possible. Okay, I'm way off base here. Marquise Chris also out, and Hardaway, he'll be out. He has a broken foot. He'll be out for a while. Statistically speaking, we've got the Clippers 12th in pace, Dallas third slowest team in the league at 28. Defensively, Clippers 8th and Dallas 5th. That's why you've got a 215 total.
Yeah.
So what are you making of this mess? And am I whining about the Mavericks, or do I have a point?
No, I think you probably have a point. I mean, they did get rid of Porzingis, like you said, but they didn't really get much in return. So it seems like they could have got a lot more for him. But maybe teams are starting to feel like they're maybe, kind of a decline coming for Porzingis. So
true.
But anyway, Luka is definitely my favorite play here. He's 11-4 on FanDuel. He's 12-5 on DraftKings. Very expensive, but I feel like there's enough value on this slate that we can make this work. The Clippers allowed the 8th most fantasy points to point guards. Of course, he had the huge game with 51 real points Thursday against the Clippers. And
in our Discord, when I called the 50-point game for him in the first quarter.
Yeah. First quarter, you called that. Yep.
Yeah.
So he ended up with 75 DraftKings points, and he is my favorite play on this slate. I don't really feel like anyone else is going to have the night that he's going to have, with the exception of maybe DeJounte Murray would be my other favorite pay-up probably. A lot of these games feel like blowouts to me, and that's a big part of the reason why. The Clippers, Reggie Jackson had a nice game against the Mavericks on Thursday with 36 DraftKings points. He's 5,700 on DraftKings, so right around where he probably should be for that kind of production. And that's about it for me in this game. Not a whole lot that I like here.
Yeah, Luka has he loves playing the Clippers. He has a tendency to torch them a lot. He hates Marcus Morris, and there's just a really he gets up for Clippers games. I just don't know, man. 12-5 is such a blow on DraftKings. Maybe on FanDuel that's a little more reasonable. But I just a game with this slow of a pace. I know he did it already against the Clippers, and he's just trying to do it back again.
Yeah.
A lot of it to me has to do with this Dinwiddie stuff too. If he's in there, Luka's going to want to make him feel part of the team. He's going to probably get him the ball a lot and that kind of thing. So I like the Prize Picks over on Luka's assists, by the way. In that scenario, if we're talking Prize Picks, who is the sponsor of this podcast,
right?
I just don't know, man. I as much of a Luka fan as I am, and as much as I know he smacks the Clippers, I do think the Mavs could beat them by double digits, especially if Norman Powell sits. That's even worse for them. Clippers had played. I don't know how they won the games they did and stayed at 500 as long as they did. Because without all their good players, I mean, they've been doing with, paper clips and bubble gum. I don't know how they've won games. I think they're about to hit a giant skid here until they at least get Paul George back. Kawhi's already announced he's out for the season. So I don't know. I'm not comfortable with this game. I think Dallas will win by double digits. The Dinwiddie unknowing of his role. I think this is probably going to be a full pass for me, believe it or not.
All right,
man. Let's wrap it up. Final game, only 9:00 game. Weird. And it's talk about a big spread. How about Orlando at Phoenix? Phoenix only laying 16, and that's a number. 226 is the total. Orlando only a 105 implied with a game that has a 226 total. That's pretty funny. Phoenix, that rare over 120 implied at 121. Suns are the best team in the league, in my opinion. It's that simple. Orlando's 13-44. Phoenix is 45-10. Orlando's on the second night of a back-to-back. They have to be on the road in Phoenix playing a rested Phoenix team who, like Memphis, is the only other team that has a top 10 defense and top 10 pace. They're unbelievable. So you've got Fultz, Hampton, Isaac, Wagner, and that's Mo Wagner, not Franz, out for Orlando. Phoenix has same guys, Kaminsky, Nader, Payne, Sarge, and Shamet out. So they are a little shorthanded, but they have been, and they just keep beating the life out of people. Orlando 14th in pace, Phoenix top 10 and 9th. Defensively, Orlando 23rd, the Phoenix Suns 3rd. So is this an avoid game because of blowout? Can somebody get to their number first? Does Orlando stick with their guys long enough? To bet this game on the money line, Phoenix is minus 2,243. That you might want to take, right?
Yeah, really. Wow. There's just, it would be shocking to me if this game stayed remotely close. So the only thing I'm looking at here is JaVale McGee at 4,000. The way he's been playing coming off the bench, I think that there's good value there. And the same thing for Cameron Johnson. The Magic allowed the fourth most fantasy points to small forwards. He's 3,900 on DraftKings. So I think he'll play a lot of minutes in this game. He played a lot of minutes against my Bucks, who really didn't even show up, it seemed like. But that game was just a highlight film of why we traded for Serge Ibaka.
Right.
So, yeah, they just killed us in the paint. And so I just think that this game is going to be over by halftime.
Yeah, I don't know how you anticipate a scenario where Phoenix doesn't smash them. And the prices on the guys from Orlando are no bargain anymore. Yeah. 7.2 for Cole, 6.2 for Suggs, even $7K for Carter. those are pretty expensive prices to pay for against the number 3 defense. And then Wagner hasn't done anything in a long time at 5'4". Mo Bamba has, a low ceiling at 4'8". So I don't think I can take any magic here and feel any comfort with it at all.
Right.
But I also don't want to pay the big bucks of 9-2 for Paul or 8-9 for Booker. I mean, 8-9 is fair for Booker. He could score a boatload of points here, but how much run does he get into the third and fourth quarters? The problem. You're not even getting value with 6-2 Bridges, 6-7 Ayton. It's very difficult. Now, the only thing you could go, but again, it's risky, but in cash even, but specifically GPP, if you think this game does get stretched a bit and there's a lead, the guys that could go fairly bonkers off the bench are, like you mentioned, JaVale McGee at 4, but they still have Biyombo. So, you would think he's going to get some run in the mix if it's really a blowout. So I don't even, can't even really recommend that, but maybe a Cam Johnson at 3-9. I don't know. This is just, you're digging a little bit to roster anybody here, but that's the way the game sets up. And for those, people that feel they have to have some exposure on the late night hammer game or whatever, it shouldn't matter what time the game is. If it's a crappy game to roster, then don't play it. There's plenty of great plays on this entire slate.
Definitely.
All right, Chief, we did it. 10 games, man. Up and down. Now we got to build this 2 brains are better than 1 FanDuel GPP, and then we're going to get on out of here. So I know you probably want to take Kristaps Porzingis first. No, go ahead, man. You got the first pick. I got a feeling you're going to spend.
I'm going to take Luka.
Luka? I was just going to say, I got a feeling you're going to spend the entire wad right here. Kapowie. I guess I need to try to balance you out a little bit. Oh.
It was between him and Murray, and I just went with Luka. So,
yeah, I just don't like to pace that game that much, but I get the pick. I mean, the dude's been absolutely unconscious lately. It's between a couple of guys for me. Just this is an important one. I'm going to go Kyle Kuzma at small forward. Does that work for you?
Yeah, I'll take Kyle Lowry.
Lowry. Is he the one? 59 is a very fair price there. I don't have a problem with that. I think from money standpoint, see, we don't have some of the news yet. And again, this may change. If we do change any of these lineups, we'll put it up on Twitter for the listeners, and we'll definitely have it right in our Coach Talk. What am I trying to say? Discord.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a weird pick for you, man.
Okay.
You may not like it, but it's going to set up the rest of our lineup. $4,100 power forward Rui Hachimura.
Okay.
I like his roles increasing. He's a good points per minute guy. And now we got back over 6,000 per guy.
Yeah, I'm going to give us a little bit more savings with Jonathan Kuminga at small forward.
That is your man today, huh? You're on the Kuminga bandwagon. Okay, now I can spend a little bit of cash here. How about and I don't, there's a few of these guys I just do not trust at all. I think I'm going to go, let me look at the center spot real quick. I think that's a fair price. Not going against him. Wow, this is tough because we need some news. We need some news bad. I'm just going to take this guy a power forward because he's grossly underpriced. I know he's playing against Embiid. I get it. I know it's a slow defensive game, but he's such a beast. I'm taking $7,600 Jarrett Allen at power forward.
Okay.
I know it's a weird pick. I like it though.
Yeah, I can work with that. I'm going to take Vassell at 49.
I like that pick. He's an up-and-comer. Evan Vassell, shooting guard. That gives us $6,600 per spot, unless we go super value and pay up. The center position is a head-scratcher for me today. There's a lot of guys I don't like. I was taking Plumlee for a while because the value that's shot out of the water now with Harrell there. They're going to be splitting a ton.
If Bryant can get enough minutes, I mean, I think that's a decent play at 47.
I do too, but to me, you either have to go with that shot with Bryant or Rui. I don't think it's smart to go with both,
Yeah. What about Harrell at 48?
I mean, Plumlee's played good basketball. People just haven't recognized it. And I think that he is in a total timeshare now, and I can't stand timeshares. This is a guy I haven't rostered in a million years, but I think he's going to snap Mo Bamba in about 4 pieces. Even if he only plays 28 minutes, I think this could be one of those 45, 50 burgers for DeAndre Ayton.
Okay.
Maybe 55. So that gives you a cool $6K.
Okay. Let's see.
Your buddy Desmond Bane or Malik Monk, 2 great plays. Patty Mills isn't a bad play. You got great options there.
Your guy, Terrence Mann.
Don't even bring him up. He's one of the dead to me crew.
I know.
Too bad we didn't have $100. Oubre's only 61.
I wish Monk had a better matchup. That's my only hesitation.
I agree.
I'll go with Bane.
I think that's a smart play because, where we may have screwed up on this lineup, that's our only guy from that game.
Yeah.
That game's going to be like 5 million points. So if we do any adjusting, we may have, with the news coming out, we may have to get at least one more guy in from that game. But at least we have somebody. We used all our money. Here's the 2 brains are better than 1. Luka Doncic, Kyle Lowry, Devin Vassell, Desmond Bane, Kyle Kuzma, Jonathan Kuminga, Rui Hachimura, Jarrett Allen, and DeAndre Ayton. That's a solid team.
Yeah, I think so too.
I like it. I am locking it in, my man.
Sounds good.
All right. We want to thank our sponsor, Prize Picks. Definitely join Prize Picks if you haven't already. They have 9 million options for plays for the Super Bowl tomorrow. And if you join first time, you get up to $100, 100% match with your first deposit. And if you use the promo code CoachTalk, all one word, no space. That is it. I'm excited this afternoon. I'll be on the live stream with Gundacker to review all these games. Hopefully we have a little more news to work with. So I'll be posting that on Twitter, that as far as the link to that live stream, and also in Discord for our members. Any final words, Bud?
Yeah, I want to get your Super Bowl prediction. We gave out our Super Bowl predictions on the podcast, 3 of us, Andrew, myself, and John, and I want to hear yours.
All right. It's rough for me because my prediction is opposite of what I'm going to be rooting for. So I always hate that, but I'm rooting for the Bengals. I'd love to see the Bengals win. It's a great story, on and on and on. I just do not think that offensive line is going to hold up, which they don't often. Burrow was the most sacked quarterback in the league. And you've got possibly one of the best defensive lines and pass rushes in years in the Rams. So unfortunately, I'm going to pick this as not a really fun Super Bowl. I have it 31-13 Rams.
Wow.
I know it's a bad stinger, but that's what I'm looking at, especially when I'll be rooting for the Bengals. But there you go.
Yeah. And I've got 30-27 Rams. So it's both of us have the Rams, and I think we're both probably cheering for the Bengals, but that's all right.
We'll see how it goes. Hopefully Tyler won't listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. Great job again today. We'll be back every Friday and Saturday now. Crash and I are together. We're doing our prize picks Fridays, where we'll be giving away a couple of picks on that podcast. And then, of course, our 2 Brains lineups on Saturday. So enjoy the Super Bowl. If you haven't caught the Coach Talk Super Bowl podcast, definitely dial that sucker up. It is worth a listen. And for all the ladies out there, it's John Weehausen. That's all I have to say, All right. Have a great Saturday. Have a phenomenal weekend. I'll be back this afternoon, and then I'll be out either late tonight or early tomorrow for that little 2-game blip for the NBA slate tomorrow. And then it's all about the Super Bowl. So enjoy, stay safe, stay healthy. If you're drinking a lot on Super Bowl weekend and parties, don't drive. Take an Uber, do whatever. Please, I have had too many friends get in trouble on Super Bowl Sunday. So be smart and have a great time, but do it with a brain. That's for sure. All right. Thanks, Crash. Great job. And we'll catch you Friday, and we'll catch the rest of you this afternoon. And when we look to crush it in DFS.